And that was different. Everybody, and welcome to another and very special Smoke and Mirrors. This episode is brought to you by the N-word, evidently Hunter Biden's absolute favorite. That's such great news. And now, here's a song. All seven and we'll watch them fall. Stand in the way of love and we will get them all with their intellect and their savoir-faire. All right, that's it. I don't want to sing anymore. Okay, and now here they are, your invenerable host, Carlos Karim Wyndham. The glockenspiel, so you know it's real. Hi, everyone. We're not doing white man's time again today, as you can tell. We're doing the best we can. And Joshua was here earlier. We were here getting our guest all queued up. Mercury is still in retrograde. So what you don't know is that I have the superpower to manage time like a miraculous Doctor Who box. And it means that I then, with my time-traveling trash can and special scarf of houselessness, have to spend sometimes a little extra time getting us all lined up to get here. We got here within about 4 minutes of what is the appropriate time. So now we're here. And it is good to see each and every one of you. Hey, let's get into some things before we get into the conversation and get into the stuff. Hey, peace, Kaya Lou. I see you there. I see you on the screen. All right, here's what I need to say to you, Kaya, and anybody else who is here with us already and those who will be here in the future. This is Smoke and Mirrors. You see what it is. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. You do that where? You do that at the YouTube. You do that at the Facebook. You know, we're always here for free. I'm never going to bogart. But if you really absolutely felt like you had to drop 5 on it, there are 3 places you could do that. You could do that at the Venmo, Godlos-Wyndham Cash App, $CK Wyndham, PayPal /me.CK Wyndham. If you love this, and this is the kind of thing you want to see, if you consider this to be any kind of art, I'm not sure what the qualifier would be, but you know what? You can become a patron of it, patron of the arts, and a patron of this thing at Smoke and Mirrors CCB. Patreon at Smoke and Mirrors CCB. The C and the B are for the comedy, the culture, and the blackness. Okay, that's the announcements at the beginning. Today is that kind of a day where we have a guest, and a guest who has a project. And it's a project that is going to require some of your investment, and we hope that you're going to be down for that as well. We'll get into that toward the end of the conversation, in the conversation throughout. I don't know when, because it's a conversation. It's a conversation. Y'all know the deal. I don't have any questions for anybody when we do this, which is the philosopher's tree. We sit and we talk. If you want to smoke, you smoke. And usually it's because I have the privilege of knowing geniuses. I don't know why. I don't know what was going on in the different places that I happen to find myself throughout my life. I'm going to call it providence. It's not me. It's got nothing to do with me. I lucked up. But one of those places is a place that I'm from. A city from which I hail, one in which I was born. Many of you know that I was in Oakland for about 20 years or so before I found myself in Portland, not a place to which I moved. This is a place that people find that you just end up in Portland. I just ended up here. But before that, I am from the 5280s. So Nanu. Boulder, Colorado. is the place that I was born and raised. Spent a lot of my teenage years going over to Denver and pretending to be from there because it just seemed cooler. I don't know if you know, but for a very long time, rule of the trade, if you were a black person born in Colorado or any of the sticks, one of the fun things we all did was pretend we were from anywhere but where we were from. I told my roommate in college that I was from New York, and that worked out for about 4 weeks until my dad invited him over for dinner. So anyway, this is somebody who I've known since that time, and this is somebody who you may know from any number of their artistic adventures, depending on where you've lived in your life and what it's meant to you. If Burning Man means a thing to you, maybe you know who this is. If creative genius and fellow black weirdo Saul Williams and their music means a thing to you, you might know who this next person is. Hey, Cold Crush Bar, ever heard of it? Yeah, would have wanted to. And there was a phraseology that was attached to their name prior. I don't see it as much. It still resonates with me. We'll find out what's going on. Hey, welcome under the philosopher's tree, Musa Bailey. Let's get a round of applause going there and bring him on. There he is.
What's good?
How you doing?
Fantastic.
Excellent, excellent, and excellent to see you. Hey, how'd you celebrate Prince Day?
How did I?
How did you?
Oh, man. Wow. Okay. Prince Day for me. What did I do? It was yesterday, right?
Indeed.
One of my favorite Prince moments is him. He's on German TV and talking about birthdays, and said, the interviewers asked something about how old he was or whatever. And he was like, I don't count. Everyone has one birthday. And then after that, you don't have any more birthdays. You just exist in time and space. And so the rationale was he doesn't count birthdays, so he doesn't count time, and therefore he stays young forever. So that was my Prince Day of just, I'm 46 now, so I feel older. For sure, I feel old. But also, I know my spirit is young, and Prince just always had like he would be 80 right now and look exactly the way he looked it just something about the presence around a person like that is just timeless. So I thought about time a lot yesterday. Yeah. I listened to some of the tracks, but then I just watched that interview and I was like, wow, that's really deep as shit. Like, don't count time, count experiences, count people that you love and places that you've been, but
Absolutely.
don't count time. So yeah, I had like a super meta Prince Day yesterday. Like super out there, but yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, it's meta times right now. Gonna acknowledge for the viewers, we're getting a little bit of a sticky icky going on in Skype. Just you know what it is. We were on with the DR the other day. Skype is what it is, and so it looks like there's fluidity on Musa's side now. And if it gets sticky again, then you get to look at me reacting to Musa in a still. I don't know. Hey, before we got on,
Here, real quick though. I thought this was about smoking weed and stuff, so I'm gonna need you to just.
Oh, you know what it is? Come on,
yeah. I'm gonna need you to light up with me. One time for all the weed smokers out there. Spark it if you got it.
If you're from the Golden Triangle, you know. Back in the day when it was. I talk about this with some people, like most of the activities that have now very much become my livelihood were, when I began them, criminal activities and criminal enterprises. 201. It was getting chased out of malls dancing, getting chased off of malls for rapping and looking too hip-hoppy,
we just ultimately hope our kids don't do this shit. You know, oh man, I did some really stupid shit. I did really dumb things. And I just hope I can keep my son away from some of my mistakes. I guess that's all you can do.
I mean, some of them we can, right? Because some of them were built into the system, right? I mean, when you think about when we grew up in Denver and like the era in the 80s when the Rolling 30s started coming in from LA and all of this, you know, a lot of it
We
is
grew up in
structural.
gang culture. Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is structural, but we did the best we could. We did the best we could, I think. You know, we were talking earlier, like it's wild to think about, right? Because you start talking to your contemporaries, and I'm like, well, most of the kids in our clique did really well, and we're not kids. We're not
Well,
kids.
you know what? I think what it was is that you got two passes out of the hood back in those days.
Mm,
Like, if you were good at sports, people left you alone. You know, like the gangs knew not to fuck with the basketball players and the, football players, the student athletes. We kind of got a pass. So I was
right.
kind of one of those guys.
Yeah.
But then also, the artists always got a pass. Like the rappers, if you get beatbox back in the day, that
Right.
could save you from getting beat up. That could save you from getting beat up because you would be getting jumped and they'd be like, "Yo, but hold on, before y'all beat me up, let me just kick this kick me off real quick." So like art has always been like this interesting hood pass to like save you from getting your ass whooped. And I just think so many of us from that time just latched on to that art shit, like, because it was just hip hop was the most amazing thing in the world.
Man.
There's nothing that was better than it at the time. And
Man.
so if you latched on to one of those elements where MCing people, graffiti, if you latched on to one of those things, if you're in your 40s now, you're marginally successful because you just doubled down 20 years on hip hop.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Think about it. Like you really just spent the last 20 years of your life DJing, dancing,
Yeah.
fucking out here in the streets doing graffiti and shit. So you're in your 40s now, and like chances are you're a fucking assassin. You know what I mean? And you're so good at that element of hip hop that you chose at that time. So I think that's why a lot of us have that interesting longevity because we latched onto something like right then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and something latched on to us too, right? Because again, growing up where we grew up, you know, the identities that were offered, right, in terms of not what was happening in people's homes, because I know that in folks' homes, in community, there was a deep, deep embrace, right? At least for the people that I know with whom I established long-term relationships that have either been active, including those with like some of the folks that we knew, Jason Page, friend of the show who's been here, been trying to get DJ Amir here, and trying to set that up internationally, talking in Germany. That's what it is, right? But as we're having these conversations, a lot of us spent very active time in the hood and also had families that were like, and you about to read this book and you about to sit down and you about to like really learn about what it is. And I know you give your pops a lot of praise in terms of that.
Well, also my mother, my mother has a PhD. Like I know I talk about my dad a lot, but my mom is low key the key to my success. She's went to East High School here in Denver, and then she got a scholarship to go to Princeton University in the late 60s. Like my mom graduated from Princeton University with me in her hands on the graduation stage. You feel me? Like that. I come from this really special combination of street knowledge and like just straight ahead academia, and so it allows me to have a special perspective on things I do because I'm always looking at the street level at things, but also I'm looking from my mom's perspective at the intellectual or the academic level of things. So I don't know. It's just like I said, I always feel lucky to be from the 80s and to grow up when we did. And as a grown up now, I just feel like it's dope that we get to still use all these hip hop skills to like stuff that I was doing when I was a kid to still like eat and survive. And
Do you
the
ever
hip
just
hop
geek
never,
out on the shit that the hip hop has done in your life that you've been able to
yeah,
do?
of course, because it's first of all, it's still around, right? And like arguably more powerful than it's been in a long time because it's still the coolest shit. Like there's nothing like even with the Drakes and all the music that's out now, it's still in the time now the coolest shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It never like fell off. It never stopped being interesting. It never stopped being cutting edge or unique. And I just the fact that we come from that our part of that development to now and get to still watch it and engage in it. Like my mixtape or the project I'm working on is still a hip hop mixtape essentially. Like they're
Right.
hip hop beats because I'm a hip hop producer and I made them to be hip hop beats. You know, like it just it fascinates me, and I just feel really blessed that we have that. Because what else would we be doing right now, fam? Like, I
Right.
don't know what else I'd be doing right now. Like,
I honestly don't know. I was talking with my therapist and I was describing what being an MC, what being a rhymer has done for me in my life. It because I started right. I started telling jokes to kind of like get through or whatever right around the same time, but both around when I'm like 10 years old. And to describe it as, it's essentially just word Tetris,
right,
right? I'm not playing an instrument. I'm figuring out how to ride over a different rhythm or how to feel an audience, and I'm playing the audience. I'm not, it's a whole different experience.
well, and
And
it's a whole lot of public speaking,
yeah,
right? It's a
yeah,
whole lot of
yeah,
not being afraid to talk in front of other people.
yeah.
If you can spit in front of other people, then talking in front of other people ain't nothing. You
Yeah, it's a
know,
lot
so
easier.
of course you would be apt at doing this because of your background as an MC, because that you're already used to using words and phrases as a way to communicate with people.
It's
You
word
know,
Tetris.
yeah,
It's
it's
just word Tetris. Like, are we trying to do it funny? We trying to do it serious? We trying to do it fast, slow? What kind of beat? Like, it's word Tetris. What you
it's
want to do?
the same thing of like a person who used to paint trains or paint rail cars back in the day, who now has like a high end design firm.
Yep.
You know that exists. There are artists in their 40 and 50s now of our age group who are been alive long enough to see hip hop grow to this point to where it's so mainstream culture that you can get a gig from BMW. You
Oh
can
yeah.
get hired from a Fortune 500 company to do art or music or whatever for to sell things. Like we get to that is the benefit of us OGing and getting older in hip hop because there was no money initially.
At
You know,
all.
you just had to love it. It was
Yeah.
just you only wanted to do this shit because it spoke to your soul. Now there's like genuine millions and billions of dollars in this industry, and it makes sense that the people who helped create it are doing as well as they're doing.
Yeah.
I like to I'm inspired by that every day. You know what I mean? Like genuine hip hop people that are just started out just b-boying,
Yeah.
but now they have like some really cool thing that they do, or they teach, they have a theatrical show that they're
Right.
working
Right.
on. Like it's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the evolution. It's the evolution. It's beyond,
And
right?
one
Like,
time for all the people who aren't here to see this, right?
listen.
Like just I told you before, one of my DJ homies died today, and
Hey, give it up.
like there's a lot of people who didn't make it to see all the effort they put into being a DJ or a b-boy or a b-girl or just anything
Yeah.
because they died, and I just appreciate every day being here right now that I can use all this hip hop knowledge to be a businessman now,
Yeah.
business person.
Very much appreciated. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's wild, right? The evolution of us being able to figure out how to find ways to create opportunity for ourselves and others in terms of the business stuff, and moving from the place of being the pure right artist to like what some people think about as in terms of what I do, right? The garbage can rapper, right? Like that's the origin. That's what I love. That's what I love. And you can't dance to it. Okay. So I got, let's figure this out. And how do I communicate these messages as well, right? So you just got to evolve. You got to keep evolving. As you've been evolving, when I met you, because you said now you're 40, what,
46.
46.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm 49. I'm going to be 50 this year. And
Hey.
I remember you were like, because when we met, I think I was about like maybe, I want to say 1920, something like that. And you were already like one of the coolest motherfuckers that I ever seen. I was like, how am I intimidated by a 16-year-old kid? What is
That
this?
used to happen to me a lot. Listen, I took the hip hop shit serious.
Look.
Serious. By the time I was 18, I got turntables when I was 13 years old. I'll never forget this. My 13th birthday, I had straight A's and 1 B on my report card. And my parents were like, look, you can pretty much have anything you want. You're killing it right now in school. You can pretty much have anything you want. And at that point, I was just a basketball player. I just loved basketball. That's everything to me. But then I actually went over this white boy's house. I'll never forget this. His name is John Regan, Little John. He's famous in Denver. Look him up. So there's 2 Johns from Denver. There's Big John, who's a executive for Sony, and Big John, the entertainment Big John, right? But then there's Little John, who's this little white dude from Aurora, who probably was at like 1986, 87, the best DJ in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's this young white kid living in his mom's house. He was probably like 18 years old, and he had already figured out how to do doubles. There were no videos back in the day to watch battle routines. So it didn't even make sense how good this dude was. It's like, where did you even learn that you could do that? So I went over his house one day to play basketball, and he had 1,200 turntables set up in his living room. And I was like, that's the first time I'd ever seen him in person. And I was like, these shits are pretty. They just look like museum pieces, like the lights, the everything about him. I was just like, this is crazy. So I was like, man, and I totally fronted him. I was like, man, you a white boy. You ain't even nice at this shit. I played the reverse race card, and it was the worst decision ever.
I've made that mistake more than once in Colorado. You can't do that shit. You can't do that shit.
It's for white people, bro. I learned that really early in my life. So listen, I was like, man, whatever, bro. You just some white dude. You ain't even that nice. And he's like, okay, let me show you something real quick. And bro, I got that kung fu lesson that you never forget, where you just underestimate your opponent or someone because of the way they look. And you know what he did it with? This is the killer. He did it with the back to life shit. The back to life. That just came out. Just came out. And he had double copies of However Do You Want Me. And he just melted my whole fucking existence.
I'm sure. Are you kidding me? Bringing that fucking house beat and doing that on doubles?
Like back to big, and it was like the timing was perfect, everything. I was like, yo, this motherfucker's nice. I couldn't believe how nice he was. So I was like, all right, fuck basketball. Fuck basketball. I was like, my parents just told me they can give me anything I wanted. And I said, you know what, Dad? I want turntables. I just saw this white boy do this back to life shit. And it was cold-blooded, and then he let me scratch it a little bit, and he's like, all right, man, get off my shit.
Right. Like, okay, you're going to fuck it up.
Man, I promise you, that night, I was like, Dad, listen, man, listen. I want turntables. I want them, like, now. And, bro, a week later, my father had found some used turntables somewhere, and them shits was in my house. Like, turntables, 2 big ass speakers, a mixer, and like a Creative Records. He had found some guy he had worked with before who was trying to get rid of all this shit. and he sold all that shit to me for like $200.
The fuck
And
out.
so I had turntables when I was 13.
The
Like,
fuck
I got
out.
to start super young. So of course, by the time I was 19, 20, I was already better than almost every DJ I was
Oh, you were
around.
sick. You
Denver.
were
I was
sick.
I
You were
was like
sick.
I was quietly battling people, and there was other cats that were real good, like Chones. Respect to Chones
Big up
and John
Jones.
X,
Big up
and
Jones.
like the old school DJs that were around at that time because they
Yeah.
were real good too. And I was like, you know what? I want to be as good as those people.
Yeah.
Like so I just took the battle shit serious, and I don't know, man. I still carry around that battle energy with me, and it's the best feeling in the world to be grown and still be able to like battle,
Mm.
like fight, like
Mm.
not like in the physical sense, but like just not be afraid of a challenge or like I'm not gonna back down from this situation right here in front of
Ever.
me. You know what I mean?
Ever. No, I work so hard, right? And it's funny because it just came up again. We talked right before about pronouns, about gender recognition, and what have you.
And I keep flipping, and I
No, no,
apologize.
no, no, no. Listen,
But this ain't the first time I've had to do this, and so I should be better at that.
it
So
takes practice, one, okay?
it takes practice.
And second, with folks that I grew up with, and it's everything, right? It's not necessarily the words that are said, it's how it's said and the attitude that is said with,
Exactly.
right? And so, and the wild levels of hypermasculinity, bordering on and leaning heavy into toxic masculinity, that are a part of hip hop, that are a part of that same framework, right? Of always prepared for the battle. Oh shit! I think I just remembered how we met. Speaking of, it was through Francois because he was doing some MC battle. I didn't really know none of the cats in none of the fraternities or whatever who were up there at the school, and I just walked into this party. And I went in there with my bars, and you know what I'm saying. I was a hip hop kid. I wasn't there for no parties and shit. So I walked in my little hoodie, spit, won the battle, and just left. And then I kept getting because I was like, all right, well, thanks. And so that for me was like the comeback. And I remember I would see you and about like 4 other dudes that you was with showing up at and being called in by Francois Baptiste of 3D Production. Shout out.
Shout out.
And that was where we were seeing each other, and then I knew how serious you were, and I started inviting you to come out to panels and shit. I remember now.
Right,
I
because we
remember.
walked on a panel up there, and that was because of you. That's right.
And your boy, I had that same kung fu thing happen to me because with that hyper bullshit, toxic masculinity, and believing all my signaling and shit, and again, right, it's not where you from, it's where you at, and the insecurity of growing up black in Colorado and all of it. There was a cipher, some house party. I don't remember. Your boys was spitting. I came over, and I had won a few battles at this point. I was like, oh, fuck it. Let me just get up in here. And I started popping off something about Zulu Nation, something, because I had just gotten into the Zulu Nation like a hot second ago. And one of them just kind of looked at me like, and I got a face melting. It was, I've never forgotten it. And it was the last time that I ever entered any kind of circumstances on anybody else's name or credibility whatsoever.
To your point, I don't think necessarily. So here's the thing about hip hop, right? For sure, it's perpetuated and allowed a lot of very toxic male traits to just breed and exist and to perpetuate, right? But on the same token, I'd like to think about how art enables a man to not think toxic thoughts all the time, right? So I think about all the artists that hip hop has saved away from that kind of believing because they turned into artists, right? So Pac, and you can list them down. Like Pac Pac represents all those weird masculine energies that are too much, right? Like anyone could say, all right, that's too much. But at the same time, like Pac represents being able to channel what you have inside of you and use the art and your ability to express yourself to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to take care of your family. And like I don't think that's a toxic trait. And so that's
In and of itself, I don't.
battle.
Yeah.
The battle is the law of the jungle. It's like you at some point you will underestimate your opponent, and it's not so much a martial arts thing, but maybe just like just basic people interaction.
Yeah.
Of like don't look at somebody and just assume you know anything about them. And I think hip hop has taught us a lot of that because there has been a lot of those you just get fucked up by some little kid or somebody you didn't think was good or somebody that looked funny. And you know what I'm saying? And Biggie was one of those people. He just looked bummy and he would go around looking like a bum and just destroy people on the mic. Like I as much as I'm sad about how much it's propagated negative images of masculinity, I'm also happy for that. Like, at least there's some image of creativity that it brings to the table as well. That you can save yourself through. You cannot be a bully or a mean person or have to subdue people. You can channel your energy and your anger into creativity.
Yeah.
So that's the side of it that I always just think is powerful for me because I have tenderness and sensitivity and things that I consider are positive traits to my persona because of having to have the discipline to learn how to be a DJ and to spend 8 hours practicing something instead of being in the streets all day. Right. Like I would be at home for 8 hours a day working on myself and my skills. And that's no matter what anyone says, hip hop will always rule because of that. Because there's multiple channels. It's not just the rappers and the hip hop, the videos and all that. There's still graffiti culture, and graffiti culture is what is modern art now. There's no artwork or no advertising or no anything in the world that exists right now that's not inspired by graffiti culture. You know what I mean? And it's just like that. We get to live in this new golden age of all this time we spent getting good at these weird little hip hop things being the most popular things in the world, and I think we can remove the toxins from it now. We can look at things now in a new perspective and say, you know what, if I'm teaching hip hop to my son, I'm not teaching him that having more than one woman at a time is awesome.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like misogyny is not awesome. And so now we get to move through, I think, a new wave of people like us who are adults and parents who get to teach the brighter side of hip hop and not the misogyny and the drug dealing and all. We don't have to even focus on those things anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and I think there's a range too. Right? So for me it's not where are we getting that echo from? Oh.
Sorry if anyone's getting bored. That was it. I just came here to talk about hip hop and
no, not bored. I was just checking for an echo right now because what I was gonna say. Do you have the audio on per chance? I don't know where I'm getting that from. Okay, there we go. What I was gonna say, is that to your point, right? I look at today the reclamation of power being taken by both the contemporary artists who are really getting over, right? And there are many in the system, right? The Cardi B's, all of the women who are coming in, who, again, with that same energy of like, you're not stopping me. That's not going to happen. Like, oh, you think I'm whack? Word? Hold up. Watch this. You know what I mean? That level of energy and that level of drive and that level of push has never left, right? The exploration of gender, of the issues of power have always been the topic, and now there are more voices in the conversation and running it. And I think that the important part, especially as we're aging, is both to elevate those voices and to use our voices responsibly, to share not only our own stories and shortcomings, but to share those stories of those people who've been in our lives, who've influenced our lives, very much in the ways you were talking about.
Sure.
So yeah, it's the both and for me, right? It's the same as with comedy now, right? Like, honestly, I would rather hear what Hannah Gatsby's doing than most comedians going. And it's only because the level of vulnerability and honesty that is there is actually saying something new. I've not heard that before.
All right. So to your point, a question: is art more honest now? Then, do you think because of that?
I think
Because
it's getting to be.
I feel like art is starting to be like more honest than it's been in a long time.
I think
You know,
so. I think
because
so.
it's been a lot about fronting and smoking mirrors, and the illusion of being a celebrity and the illusion of being a pop star and all that, where I think people are more attracted to honesty and, like mental health issues that someone might be dealing with, or, you know what I'm saying? That's a hot topic right now because everyone has to deal with these things. So like I think that the best part about making art right now is that you could be more honest than you've been able to be necessarily even 10 years ago.
It was dangerous. It was dangerous to be this level of honest, this level of vulnerable when we came up, right? This is not, even in the conversation that we're having, I will say that we are both speaking in our least affected voices that I have ever heard, right? Because growing up, we knew the language of hip hop, right? And we knew the African American vernacular language, and we knew the language of the streets in Colorado, and we knew the academic languages that we were taught by our parents, and would combine those. And while certainly I remember very clearly that myself, that Dave Dotson, some of the cats in our crew definitely had more of a flourish to it. We was like backpack thugging a little bit, little hard, knuckleheadish a little bit about it.
So much posturing. It was like this
posturing.
So unnecessary posturing because of feeling like you had to be a certain kind of way to be hip hop, right? You had to pose yourself as this kind of uber alpha kind of situation. But now the pressure on the young people now is not the same as it was for us. And I think that's the tribute to the legacy of any struggle, but especially hip hop, is that like we've evolved this to the point where there can be different kinds of reputations of what, and I know it always rubs the OGs and the old school people the wrong way, but that everything does, right? But I just like the fact that it's like for instance, you couldn't be an anime nerd, really. You couldn't be too nerdy back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I read comic books and I was like into like making rockets and models, which leads to why I'm doing what I'm doing now. But like, it wasn't comfortable to lead with that. You know what I mean?
But the nerds won. We won.
The nerds won in the end. And that's the beauty of us talking right now, is that sticking to that aesthetic and like that trueness of who you really were finally came to the surface, and now it's working out for you better than any of the posturing and the facade that you were posting ever worked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of now.
I do. That era, the one thing I still remember very clearly about it was like that particular like Wu-Tang posture that I just am like, that's very much why I didn't want to do sports. Like, I don't need you to bully me into liking your music, man. Like, just, play a nice song. I like it if it's good.
I think this one thing that was cool about growing up in Colorado is it wasn't New York, right? So we had a huge white influence on how we grew up as Black people, right? Whereas Black people in New York can have zero white influence on. Right. And a lot of major cities, you can grow up and never meet a white person until you're like in college.
Yeah.
The same way that white people don't meet Black folks till they're in college, So I think Colorado created a special breeding ground for.
We're like the Jane Goodalls of white people. We
know it is. Like all the Black people here are different from everybody else.
Yeah.
That I've from other Black people. And it's not like for better or for worse. It's just to say that, like, the uniqueness of being from Colorado, to your point earlier. I remember telling girls that when I moved to New York the first time, I was telling girls I'm from fucking Queen. I'm from the village and shit. I was lying my ass off. I was like, I'm not telling people I'm from Colorado. I'm like, yo, I'm from Boston. I think I said Boston once.
Right. Chicago was safe. Chicago was kind of safe. Y'all don't know nobody in Chicago. Not in Colorado, so that's the safe place.
I never said Colorado. I just that is it made me chuckle when you said that, because I remember in college just never telling anybody I was from Colorado.
It was embarrassing. It was
somebody I met from Iowa. Then I'd be like, oh shit, I'm from Colorado. So like I remember being embarrassed of that. But now, like, especially living here now and like working and building a business and a legacy or whatever the fuck, like
a legacy.
I love the fact that I'm from here. I love the fact that I grew up, because my perspective is different than a lot of people's, and that's part of any secret to my success is that I got to grow up around a lot of nature, right? So just that alone just gives you a completely different connection to your body, to other people. Like I used to go fishing every weekend with my grandfather. And so I spent a lot of time outdoors, fam. Like
as soon as you said completely different connection to your body, like, I'm like, that is some Colorado shit.
Yeah, that's some real hippie shit.
That is some Colorado hippie ass shit.
That's some real hippie ass shit. Like, man, I've spent like hours, like I've spent week-long camping trips in wild places when I was like 14, 15 years old, and like at a developmental time where you're already figuring out what your body is, but then also you're like looking at the Milky Way. I remember I saw the whole Milky Way once when I was about 15 years old, like the way it looks in like NASA pictures and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo.
Yeah.
Yo. So just being around the nature, I think, is what makes Colorado Black folks a little different, because like we see mountains every day. We see majesty every day. You know, something bigger than skyscrapers and malls and shit. We see the fucking Rockies every day. You know, that's special to me. You know.
Oh yeah, nah. People see me rolling in my cowboy hats. I'm like, look, you better understand.
And the cowboy aesthetic, and that's gangster.
That's understand.
It's something special when you have like a genuine cowboy aesthetic.
Genuine.
I think it makes you I don't know if tough's the word, right? So I dated a girl, but she worked on she took care of horses. So I like really had the like cowboy shit happen to me for real. I was cleaning stalls, and like I spent a lot of time around horses, fam. And I promise you that changed my entire life. Like one horse specifically, Cisco, one time for Cisco, like I spent a lot of time around this one horse, and like, it changed who I was. Like, it wasn't like I had the cowboy aesthetic, like from the movies and shit. I was like, yo, fam, I know how to ride a horse. Like, I genuinely know how to ride a horse.
Period.
You know, and like, there's not a lot of Black folks that can say that. Yeah. Not because they don't want to ride horses, but where would you ever have that experience? You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know. I love
it's a growing movement. It's a growing movement right now. I have a girl who I'm trying to get to come up on the show. Shout out one more time, E. You got to get here. She been doing horse riding competitions all summer. And we've been talking about that Black cowboy aesthetic. Her daddy's a Black cowboy.
Like, please do about that. Because it's just like, so the last project I made was How to Survive When You're Dead, right? Maybe 10 years ago, I was building my dream studio right on the east side, right where I'm from, like across the street from my high school. I'm building out like my dream studio. And motherfuckers broke in and stole everything after like 2 weeks. I was in there for like 2 weeks. Motherfuckers, the streets got me. The east side got me. So I made a Western. I was like, so we'll go to the project soon. But anyway, I was like, my thing about making art is like, I have to make it like conceptual or I'm not excited about it.
Yeah.
I have to make it fantasy, right? So I created this fantasy where instead of motherfuckers taking my equipment, a bunch of people stole my horses from a ranch. And I put myself in like the 1800s, and I made an entire cowboy mixtape, fam. Like one time for How to Survive When You're Dead, because that's when I got real serious about like doubling down on concept art. And I just sampled every country song. I did a remix of the Hurt by what's his name? Now I'm just gonna be retarded. Anyway, like the point is, I made a mixtape about horses and cowboys and guns and that world, which is why I'm doing the samurai shit now
Right,
because
right.
it just I like diving into like a whole place. You know, I need to be out of this world
Yeah.
to make the art that I make because otherwise I'm too brought back to my daily troubles. And if I can create an alternative world, then when it's time to work, I can put on a holster where the whole project I was making in cowboy boots, bro. I bought a pair of cowboy boots and I promise on everything. I was in this rocking chair I'm sitting in right now with cowboy boots on, programming hip hop beats because I thought it was making the beats like harder, like more cowboy-y.
That's the shit.
Like,
I'm telling you, when I write, I go places. You got to be in the right place
gotta
to
go
capture
there.
the words. You can't, like, they're not
Can't
just
be
sitting
there.
around wherever. You got to go get them.
Yeah, you can't be in the go to grocery store mode. You gotta
Nah.
like. Well, I don't know. Listen,
I mean, you could do that too. You could, yes,
yeah,
but
my process.
right,
My
right,
process.
right.
I have to get into complete character because when I'm in character, I feel the energy of the character coming to me,
Yeah, and it
right?
hits different.
And it hits totally
It
different.
hits different. Every one of your projects has. I've seen many of them, and I am excited about the one that you have coming.
Yeah, let's talk about that real
Let's
quick.
get into it because I know you got a Kickstarter that is pushing the border. I want this to push it over the top, and I want people to know why they are contributing to this art, to this project, to this endeavor. Talk to me about it.
All right, so right at the beginning of the pandemic, I was lost, fam. I had no idea what to do, and fortunately, I had already kind of started a new mixtape. Like I knew I wanted to do some samurai shit. I was like, yo, that's the next logical step for me after the Western thing. Is like, what other genre could I just dive into completely and just lose myself in? So then I started. Then I saw Shogun Assassin, which is the '80s classic where it's the dad and the son, and he's pushing the cart. So what a lot of people don't know is that movie is what the Mandalorian, the Mandalorian,
Mm-hmm.
the Disney thing that just came out. It's based on the same film that I'm
Right,
working
right.
on. It's just about this cold-blooded dad who just kills ninjas and like anybody that gets in the way. So I saw that when Glenn was super young, and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm gonna do this guy. I'm this guy now. I'm Igami Ito, and I'm on the road to hell with my son. I'm a single parent. Like, I got to figure this out for me and him, or else he's gonna die, or something's gonna. I just had the worst kind of thoughts, and that's just being a young parent. When your kid's young, you think they're gonna die like every other day. You
Right.
know, you're just scared all the time. So anyway, I saw this movie and I was like, all right, that's me. I'm gonna be this guy and his son on this adventure. And then I started making this music, sampling Japanese, like any old Japanese movie I could find. Like the Wu shit is cool because the Wu shit is like they went super hard into Shaolin, into like kung fu,
Mm.
right? But samurai and Bushido and all that shit, that's Japanese
Mm.
street. That's like karate is regulated to that island in the Pacific that is only does this. It's
Mm.
like Japan's a lot like Jamaica, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like this little small place that is responsible for touching every aspect of human interaction or art or anything you can think has been inspired by Jamaican culture or Japanese culture.
Oh, I went on to study Shintoism so
Tiny,
bad when I was a kid.
right? So anyway, long story short, started working on this mixtape, and then before I knew it, I had some legitimate beats. I was like, man, I got like 10 beats that sound pretty good. Started having my friends over and like the new way I like to work, I also taught myself how to play the drums. So like, well, not taught myself. I know some really good drummers, and they came to my house and showed me things. And I used to have these jams a lot, and had people over to my house to just play music and jam in my living room. So I was like, man, like I want to make album like this. I don't want to just sample everything.
Right.
I want to like sample some things and then get people to play over top of it. So I slowly started doing that. And then I had like 10 tracks that sounded really dope. And I was like, all right, like, what am I going to do now with this? And I wanted to make like a live action samurai movie, but then I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know any of this shit. Like, I'm going to look stupid as fuck. Like, out here swinging the sword around and getting like I'm a samurai and shit. That's going to look dumb as fuck. So I'm like, all right, what's the next option? And so I thought, like, puppets would be cool. And in Japanese culture, there's this puppetry called bunraku.
Mm-hmm.
It's cold-blooded. It's 3 people are controlling one puppet. So one person is controlling the head and like the right arm, then another person is doing the other arm, and another person is doing the feet. And the shit looks cold, fam. It's like, it looks like real people. And they have all these super long like dramas and these old Japanese stories that they tell with this puppetry. And they still have theaters in Japan that do this shit, but it's cold. So I was like, man, I want to do something that looks like that. But bro, the people who do that, they study that artwork for 20 years. You know, that was the moment where I was like, that would be some real culture vulture shit. Like, you're not gonna study this. You're not gonna dedicate the rest of your life to studying this art form that's centuries old, and that the people that do it have been doing it for 30 years, 40 years.
Right.
You can't just do that. I was like, all right, shit, what am I gonna do? And then I just, like, stop motion. I just remember like how cool stop motion looked in like those old California Raisins commercials, the movies, the Christmas movies. Remember Rudolph and them?
Hell yeah! All the Baskin. What is it? Baskin.
Yeah, I forget their names, but they did like Abominable Snowman, and so anyway, I was like, man, let me look into stop motion and like armatures, and I did a lot of research about this shit, fam. And then finally I found like some action figures that had metal armatures inside of them. The whole thing with stop motion is you have to move the puppet, take a picture, and then move it again, take a picture, and then you just have to keep doing that. And eventually you'll get motion. If you add all those pictures together and push play, it's like a flip book. Remember the old school flip book?
Yep.
So, but if the characters don't look good, it won't look good. So like, and if you can't really do it with action figures because they don't move like people. Right. Like a regular like Spider-Man action figure doesn't bend, his elbow doesn't bend sideways.
Yeah, it's not articulated right.
Yeah, it's articulated, right? So I found an articulated black puppet on Amazon, and it changed the game. I'll never forget this. When it came in the mail, it was supposed to be Michael Jordan. So it was like a black male puppet, 6'2" scale. The scale I'm working in is 1/6, so that's a 12-inch puppet, right? It came in the mail. It had black skin. It had black muscles. It had black skin. It had veins. Right. You know what I'm saying? It looked like a black person.
What you need. Yeah.
It looked like me. My son said, that's what my son said. He's like, Dad, it looks like you. It's like kind of long. It was like my body frame, right? But it's super muscly. Right. I don't have muscles like it, but my son was like, Dad, it looks like you. So I was like, all right, we can do this now. Now I have a figure that's already brown because I couldn't find any black anything.
Right. Well.
And it just, you're back to the racism thing. It's like they don't even make black articulated.
Right. We don't even exist in the puppet world. They not even.
We don't even exist.
Damn.
We don't even exist in the puppet world.
Shit. Yeah, we got a place for us in imagination. We get like nothing.
We don't even exist in people's imaginations, dog.
God damn.
Anyway, I found the black puppet. I was like, all right, I can. So I started getting little miniature costumes and like, miniature samurai swords and shit. I was like, all right, this is gonna work. I started taking test photos and I was like, this shit looks good, and then I was like, but how am I gonna do the stop motion? And I didn't know how to do any of the shit at all when I started. I got an app for my phone to do stop motion, and I was like, every movie I made,
Yes.
I was like, this is whack. Like it was just whack, whack, whack.
Oh no.
Because you got to be whack in the start. You got to be whack when you start.
That's how
You
you start
can't be,
anything.
you got to be whack, right? So I was like, these are all coming out whack. Like, what can I do? And then I started doing more research about how stop motion movies are made. And there's this one software called Dragon Frame. And if anyone's interested in making movies or doing any stop motion stuff, just buy this shit. It's like $300. And what it does is it takes a picture, and then when you take the next picture, it leaves a little, it's called an onion frame. It leaves the ghost image of the last position that you did. So you can do each position. And you know what's crazy? It's like popping. And it just goes back to now we're back at the beginning.
Hip hop, back
right?
to hip hop.
Like, stop motion is like the tick pop, right? It's
Right.
like boom, 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 boom,
Right.
boom, boom. And when you add all those things together, then you have the motion. So I bought this software and I spent like 3 months learning it, getting good at it, playing with the puppets. And then I was like, all right, I think I can do this as a project. Then we launched the Kickstarter and we're almost 90% funded in a week. Like, I don't know, man. It just feels like a dream. I'm really, again, walking around in a dream on some silly idea I had. Well, Cold Crush was a silly idea, It was just like, man, what we should do? Let's open a bar. Like everything I've ever done that's ever worked good was just like some ridiculous idea in the beginning.
Right.
And yeah, I'm making a stop motion samurai movie about a black dad fighting. So the ninjas, another little secret I'll leave with you as an exclusive. No one knows this, but I'll leave this with you. So I talk about the ninjas a lot. Like, so the samurai is fighting the ninjas. And I'm specifically making the ninjas look like the clan. I've designed little clan hoods for the puppets to wear. I haven't designed them. I've just got a designer.
Got it. See.
Big up my homegirl Holly. She designed these little mini Ku Klux Klan hoods that we're gonna put on all the ninjas. So it's gonna be like ultimately the fight against white supremacy, and that whole energy is, and that's the deep part of making the movie. You can talk about those things with people, but you don't want to give away like what you're doing. But I think talking to Black folks, especially, it's important for them to know that the reason I'm making this film is to like fight power. It's to fight power.
Listen.
It seems like a ridiculous idea. It seems like I've had to explain this to a lot of people and be like, they're like, why are you doing and I've even had Asian and Japanese people pull me up on like, are you appropriating? But fam, I'm studying Kendo right now. My executive producer is a Japanese artist. I have 3 Japanese artists working on the project right now. Like, I promise this ain't no fucking appropriative nothing. This is Wu-Tang forever.
Right.
How much I love this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And me trying to put myself in a world where I'm unstoppable, that my son and I are going to be okay. You feel me?
Absolutely. That energy is everything. That energy is everything.
I get amped, bro. I get amped, fam, because like I said, we asked for $30,000 and we're at 25 right now. That's ridiculous. Like, big up to the town. And this is the town business. Like, Denver is like, it's saving me right now because enough people believe in me here to really kick off the Kickstarter and make sure that I hit the target. And then now I just got to go out into the world and make this film, but that's the easy part. The hard part is getting people to believe in you sometimes, and to say, all right, we support what you're doing. But fam, I feel like overwhelmed right now with gratitude because we almost already hit the target after like.
I hope that everybody who is sat beneath the philosopher's tree hears that and does contribute. We have spent. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know how this came to be, right? This is a result of the pandemic as well.
Hold on, but this would be a good time to cut you, I think.
Right, right.
I just want to plug I realized I said all that without saying nothing. So
Oh
yeah.
no, you said it. We got the Kickstarter it's in the chats.
Okay, word.
It's in the chats. Producer Tracy here following us on the conversation.
Yeah. One time for the producer for making sure I'm not just here talking like nonsense.
Big up Tracy. And yeah, for real. We have everybody who's been on the Philosopher's Tree with us. You know what it is. We have worked to get funds to restaurants when they were in need, to help trans community get fed in different parts of the country. And art has been the thing that has helped so many of us to survive. All of the names that ran at the beginning, your patrons, I know the things you pay for the things that matter to you. And if you're seeing this, I'm personally asking that you kick down, because I know this shit is going to be dope. I have no doubt. I have no question. If you have not seen or witnessed Musa's art, there are, Google doesn't take a lot. You're going to find some. I'm
on the Googles.
All over the Googles. Hey, we both worked with Saul at different times. How did you and Saul Williams end up in collaboration? How did that happen?
Oh wow! What another really. That's what I mean. I'm on my like 8th life as a cat person. As a cat.
Shout out to the cat people.
Yeah, to the cat people. One time, if you're on like number 8, and you got to get it right this time. But wow. I met Saul when I was like, my ex-wife actually introduced me to Saul. Big up Kate Theophilus. She's awesome. But yeah, my ex-wife introduced me to Saul. I got a cool Saul story. This is how I met Saul. So Saul he just got signed to Def Jam, or not Def Jam, Def America.
Def America,
so
right.
Rick Rubin had branched off to create Def America, and on Def America he did like Slayer, and like Rick Rubin's a monster. Like people just know him from like hip hop shit, but he's produced Johnny Cash albums and
right.
Just wild shit you would never imagine. Anyway,
he's a beast.
Rick signed Saul to that label. It's like the super alternative weird label. And so Saul was like, all right, Rick told Saul, you got to get a band though. You can't like get some people around you to make an album, right? Like your poetry and shit is dope, but we need songs. You know what I'm saying? So Saul had his manager at the time contact like a handful of people who Saul had either met before or knew through his manager. And I knew Saul through my ex-wife because she was working for Saul's manager at the time. And that's the one thing she did do. We had a rough relationship. She plugged me with Saul. She's like, yo, he's a good DJ. He's not the best husband, but he's a good DJ. So she plugged me with Saul. And then he had this dinner at his house. I'll never forget this. It's like him and like 7 other people came to this weird little apartment in Brooklyn. And he was like, look, I just got a record deal, and you guys have all been recommended to me, a drummer, a keyboard player. It was a cellist, a violist, and a bass player and a guitar player. And we all just sat in this room. And me, I'm the DJ, like producer kid from Denver. Denver. And I'm in the room, bro. So anyway, we get in the room and he's like, look, we're going to have this live audition at CBGB's. This was when CBGB's is still open. We're going to have this live audition where he wanted to do it blindfolded. He was like, you know what? I want everyone to wear blindfolds. And immediately I objected. I was like, man, there's no way I can DJ blindfolded. I'm good, but I can't. I still have to know what record I'm pulling out and putting on. So I was like, fam, we can't do this blindfolded, but we can still do it blind. Like, let's just not rehearse.
Yeah. And
he was like, yeah, that's jazz, baby. That's jazz, baby. And so we didn't rehearse for this big ass gig, dude. We were just like, fuck it. It's like 2 weeks away.
Right.
We don't need to rehearse. Just everyone come, just ready. Everyone just come ready with some fire shit,
Right.
right? So we all show up on the gig, and I remember setting up, and all this instrumentation was around me, and it was Saul, and I was like, all right, here we go. And I still have the cassette of this somewhere. I saw it the other day, and we just freestyled the whole thing. It was crazy, fam. It's just one of those moments where you're just never gonna forget, because you just understand what connecting with other people means.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, for some reason, everyone just knew what to do.
Yep.
Like, I remember hitting this weird cut. I was cutting a flute or something, just random, like a flute. And then like the drums dropped out, and like I just hit it perfectly. And people were like, yo, what the fuck was that? It looked like we had practiced this shit for months, dog.
Right.
I promise you, it's like the most jazz shit I've ever done in my life. And then, bro, we brought the house down. It was like 2 standing ovations and shit. And then we all went home, and the next day, Saul called me in the morning. He's like, man, pack your bags. We're going to Paris tomorrow.
See?
Left for Paris the next day.
See?
Like, Rick saw the show. He thinks everyone in the band is incredible. Like, let's go. And I was like, what? Are you serious? And he's like, yeah, bro, pack your shit. We're going to Paris. And then that next day, we went on Paris television.
Come on.
Like, on a TV show in Paris. And they were just like, just do whatever you guys did. Like,
just do whatever you did. Just do that. Just do that. You got it. Don't worry about it.
It was the best, man. And then
you remember?
I spent 2 years touring with this guy. Then for the next 2 years, he showed me the world, man. We're like, fam, we traveled.
Bruh, that is wild.
Through Europe, and I got to be like his DJ, like in the beginning of his career.
That is
wild. And then I was also the only one who knew how to like really make music in the band. I'd been in the studio a bunch of times, and so when it came down to like mixing the record, Rick Rubin flew me to California, and I spent like a month in California with Rick Rubin. We'll go into this another time. I have some ill old school music industry stories, but man, I got to do a lot from Saul.
Yeah.
He is responsible for me like having the courage to be from Colorado.
Right.
You know, like he was just so uniquely himself. He was from Newburgh. Like, man, nobody cares about Newburgh, New York, but he didn't give a fuck about none of that shit. He was like, I am Saul Williams. I'm from the stars in the fucking galaxy Nebulon 7, you know? And that's when I really like decided to be myself. It's because of him. I owe him a lot, because like before that I was on the like posturing and like I gotta be like a hip hop battle DJ kind of guy, but now here I am in a band with like 3 women and Saul Williams, and we're touring the world, and I'm just back there doing cuts and sounds and shit.
Yeah, dog, we're gonna have to talk more. That, I mean, I'm telling you, that's you literally just described how I ended up on tour with Omar Sosa, doing the same shit around the world as his MC.
He's that kind of person. If he likes you, he'll just be like, all right, let's go. Come with me.
That's it. It was some show at like I think the Masonic Center or something. And the audition was, hey, just come sit in. And I sat in, and we tore down the house. It was gorgeous, right? Went backstage, and he looks at Jeff, who I knew from a different band. And he says, so what do you think, man? We should take him with us or what? I think he good. And then I was on tour for 2 years, and then I ended up playing Carnegie Hall. I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
That's the art life, though.
I'm from Colorado.
All it takes is one person to see you. I'll leave you one more Saul story, right? So we were in Amsterdam, and we didn't have the whole band. This is the one time I got to spend like unique time with Saul, because the label wasn't always paying for the whole band. So we did a couple gigs, just me and him.
Right.
And we did like 3 shows in Netherlands, just me and him. And I showed up in Amsterdam, and that Radiohead OK Computer had just come out. And I had my MPC with me, and he was like, man, I need you to sample this whole album. He's like, I need you to make a beat out of every song on this album in the hotel room. So I'm in the hotel room, like sampling fucking the whole fucking thing, right? So we go on stage that night with just that idea.
Wow.
Just like 4 beats we had sampled from the Radiohead album, and he just did his poetry over that. And we absolutely destroyed that shit, bro. It
Yeah.
was insane. Like his ability to like have the foresight to be like to trust his instincts.
Yeah.
You know, to be like, all right, I just heard this album. I'm gonna go perform basically this album
Right.
tonight
Right.
with my poetry.
Right. 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 Right.
You know, that took a
Yeah.
lot of courage. And we played 2 shows of just Radiohead loops
Mm.
and like me cutting and scratching over that shit. And it was wild. It just let me really believe in like the ability to just come up with an idea just right there on the spot and just trust that idea to
Yeah.
not, you don't need to develop it for weeks and weeks and weeks. He got me back on my jazz shit of just
Yeah.
like, you're talented. Think of something now. What can you do right now? And I promise you, I will think of something right now. Like, that's the battle aesthetic, but it's also like a jazz aesthetic.
That's
It's
it.
like, can you step up and do it right now? What you said you can do.
Yeah.
You know, he taught me how to trust that instinct in myself, and I rely on that. Right, I would never be making this film. I would never have the confidence to do something like this because it doesn't matter to me if it's dope or not. I know that I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's what makes it dope, right? Ultimately, right, in the nerd win, that's what makes it dope. Is this the shit I want to hear? Is it what I want to see?
Yeah.
Trust, I'm doing it.
Trust and that instinct that even people tell you, you have people around you telling you that's not the right instinct.
Yeah.
That's the toxic shit.
Yeah.
Is like growing up in a culture where you got to be told that what you're into is not cool.
Yeah, trying to quash that.
You know, that's the revenge of the nerds for real. Is
Real
that like
shit.
those people have like they never really quite let go of that ability to just be who they are. And now all of a sudden everyone loves anime and everyone's in like popular artists are doing, you know, because that's the shit that we held up this whole time because we weren't afraid to say that we love that shit.
That's it.
You know?
That's it.
We deserve this win. We deserve this win.
This is big shit. Real talk. Real talk. Family, listen. We've done the thing. I know you're a hungry person.
Yeah, bro, I'm starving. And I promise, look, to all your fans, I say bro a lot. It's vernacular, right? So this is what I'm learning not to do is like end sentence with pronouns even to begin with. There's no reason to say, how you doing, bro? You know, or you know what's the bruh thing, right? It's the bruh thing that got me back on that.
Right.
Oh, bruh, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even talk like that, really. You know what I mean? Or just when I do interviews and I get nervous sometimes, I just say and talk a way that makes me get my point across. But I didn't mean no offense to nobody or to you.
No,
listen,
absolutely.
we can also talk about you a little bit more. I wanted to ask you some questions today.
Hey, we'll get into it. We'll get into it next time. I promise you. Anytime and every time.
You know, I want to know about your evolution and your chrysalis transformation. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I believe in people's ability to do that, especially right now at this age, right? Because the midlife crisis is. I have friends committing suicide, fam, and people not making it through this part of their life.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't know who they are. You know, they're not comfortable with who they are, right? Like you found who you are, and you live in that energy, and that's an example to everybody, fam. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
And that's why I consider you my contemporary, because that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to live in my skin and not have to impress nobody and be nothing for somebody that don't. You know what I mean? I admire you. Just to leave it on.
I appreciate that. And you do, man. You live in your truth. Like the last time we actually even got to see each other, right? Like I think it was the Trayvon protest, which is the worst fucking kind of circumstance.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Right, to see somebody and to know that even that is a lifetime ago, and the Trey would be an adult now. You know, the world is what it is, and within that, watching the contemporaries that I've had who, like yourself, continue on the process of evolution, who don't give up on themselves, who don't give up on their community,
on their dreams,
Yeah,
dreams are like hard when you're in your 40. You know,
Come
dreams
on now. Yeah, it's never too late for any of it. It's never
Never.
too late. Don't
Like,
let nobody tell you that.
don't let, like, no matter how old you get, like,
Ever.
just don't give up on that shit. This was a dream, fam, and like now I'm walking around in this funny little dream because I just committed to that.
That's it.
You know?
It's a life. It's a life. You build your life. That's one of the lessons the Prince taught us, right? If you're making art, make your life the art. Make your life the art. And
I was the other Prince moment I had real quick
yeah.
was the symbol, right? I really tripped off the symbol the other day
Mm-hmm.
because and I read a bunch of articles about the symbol. Like apparently he like just sequestered these these designers at his compound and was like, y'all gonna figure out a symbol. Like, and what's crazy is at the time he was hanging out with Carmen Electra all the time. Yeah, I know. What a weird what a weird thing to think about.
Choices.
Carmen Electra.
So
Bro.
many choices.
Carmen Electra was like right underneath this cat for like a couple years. And so anyway, he was part of the reason for the sign. He was like trying to come up with a way to kind of get out of the record deal, right?
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Is like he did it to get out of the deal, right? But he's also already working on this because he's like, I want to do something to promote y'all as dancers, Carmen, and then the girl he married, the other woman, he ended up marrying her.
Right.
I forget her name, but anyway, he was like, I want to do a sign for y'all, but also I want to do a sign that like represents like all genders. Like what would be the ultimate hieroglyph? Like he left us with the greatest hieroglyph of all time. It is man, and it's all the energies.
Yeah.
Together, all the energies. And then not even just that, this extra little weird like black Egyptian glyph.
P.S.
He put that little thing in the middle,
right?
That little swoosh of the Horus eye, whatever, the upside down Horus eye, that little nod to blackness.
I swear to God, a dude, I was doing a gig just the other night and I had on some sneakers that have the glyph all over it. And a white dude saw only that part and came over. He was like, hey, you know what that is, right? You know that's Vodun. You know that's New Orleans. I was like,
People forget about that little swooshy thing that he had them leave in there. Yep. So the guy who designed it, he was like, so a team designed it, 2 people designed it, and then they never changed it. He was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. He gave them the instructions, and then they came back and showed them that design, and they apparently never even changed it that much from that original design with the male gender, the female gender, and this little swoosh.
Yeah. Shit is brilliant.
That was my principle. I posted it on my Instagram. I was like, look how cool this is. Like really study this little hieroglyph that he left us of how cool it is. And also we all talk in emojis and all these things all the time anyway. So it's like he left us this like
a whole language.
Language to communicate.
A language that he was communicating in before we ever got there.
That hieroglyphs would come back in style.
It's wild.
That
is wild.
The hieroglyphs would come back in style, and now here we are sending emojis to each other and things that he would look at and be like, "That's wonderful."
Right? I told you.
This is wonderful.
I told you it was happening. Just let you know. He's just letting us know.
He left us the matrix. He left us the code, and the code is in that hieroglyph.
Real
it's
talk.
In there somewhere. So look at it a lot. All the Prince fans, just go back and look at that hieroglyph a lot because there is a secret code in there somewhere that he left us.
Oh, you young motherfuckers, quit calling me old when you see me out in that glyph. I want to hear that shit. That's legacy.
That's legacy shit all the way. That's legacy. Oh man, listen, you're the best.
Hey, Musa, it has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure. Hey, folks under the philosopher tree, let's clap it up for this person, please. We saw all the places that we'll be able to see you. We're gonna see you on Instagram. They're gonna look for you on the
my gram. My gram is hot right now, so go to my gram.
All right, that's the spot. Hey, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thank you, family. You're the best. I appreciate
Hey,
everything you're doing. Keep it going.
we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
Y'all, come on now. You know what it is? You know what it is. I know it was a little long. I know it was a little long. My apologies. My apologies, but sometimes you get good stories. And sometimes my guests get me very, very high. And this is one of those times. And now it's time for me to gather my child. Oh my goodness. Responsible parenting, everybody. I'll be here Thursday. I hope you'll be here Thursday. That was DJ Musa Bailey. One more time. Just Musa Bailey now. I don't know what we're clapping at, Joshua. Honestly, memory lane and just the creativity. We're in our art space, huh? Yeah. Tracy, way to be on top of it. Way to be on top of it. Y'all saw it as the Instagram. That turns out to be where to find him. Okay, that's the show. This has been Smoke and Mirrors. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you like what we do, please check us out at the IG as well. Instagram is Smoke and Mirrors CCB. That's for the comedy. That's for the culture. That's for the bullshit. If you would like to see some of the thoughts or read them to yourself or hear my voice in your head without actually having to hear it in your ear holes, go ahead and check me out at Twitter at Caballo Negrito. Twitter at Caballo Negrito. For those who are monolingual in the crowd, Caballo Negrito literally translates to Black Cowboys. Caballo Negrito, Black Cowboys. That's not really what. Anyway, if you have a thought, a query, question, a suggestion about a guest with whom I should be in conversation underneath the philosopher's tree, please do drop a note to us, and producer Tracy and myself will have a peek at it. Smoke and Mirrors CCB. Smoke and Mirrors CCB. That's for the comedy, culture, and blackness at gmail.com. This is a thing that is produced and hosted by myself. That is Carlos Kareem Wyndham. Josh was over there in the corner, and you know what? Producer Tracy is the one helping us keep it all together. You are special people for being here, and thank you for being the folks who listen to the outro. Not sure why you do it, but I love you for it even more. Hey, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Please wear a mask and get a vax, and hug the people you love, huh? Okay, we'll see you on Thursday. That's next time. Bye-bye.